Hi, Space 1889 fans. I'm Darrell Hayhurst, the designer on the newest edition of Space 1889. Here to tell you guys a little bit about why we made some of the choices that we did and how things are working in the new edition. And one of the basics, right? Dice mechanics. People wonder, what are we going to do? Because there have been 4 different, game systems, previous editions. Which one would we choose, and how would we go forward with that? And so what we tried to do was take some of the elements, the iconic elements of each of them we really liked, and try to build on their strengths and shore up the weaknesses where we could. And what we ended up with, we like D6s, right? That's one of the originals. One of the things for the original, right, was stats were on a scale from 1 to 6, 6 being amazing, like almost superhuman, 1 being meh, not so great. And you would roll a number of D6s based on that number, for tasks. And it worked, right? That was really good, and it worked well in the war game expansions for it too. So that's what we modeled our basics after, but we handle the D6s a little bit differently, where what we care about when you roll is you get either a good result or nothing, right? And we're treating 1, 2, 3, and 4 as nothing. If you get a 5, that's a good result. So if you've got a stat of 3 and you roll 3 dice and one of them is 5 or better, you succeeded. And there can be modifiers and things like that. But that's the basics, right? And then a 6 is a great result. And if there's like contests between the two, a 6 is going to be a 5, or it counts as double, 2 5s essentially. And when you get extra successes, you might be able to buy additional outcomes, right? And the other thing about 6s is they explode. And it's a little questionable, like, oh, if we're using these dice pools of 1 to 6, exploding dice can really throw that off. But that's a feature, not a bug, right? Because it's very unpleasant, in a role-playing game to only have 1 die at something and feel like you have no chance. Like somebody, your opponent rolled really good, and there's just no way. Like, even if I roll a 6, it's just 2 successes. Like, I can't win. And we don't want that to happen. We want there to always be a chance, and the exploding dice do that. The odds might be terrible, but there's always a chance, and that's a good thing. And then how we're doing our abilities is we track the abilities off the things people will do in the game, right? If you're going to get in a fight, combat is going to control that. That's the ability. Not everyone's going to be a fighter, so there's not like 5 different skills that control combat. It's just combat. Science, discipline is what controls not only like your willpower and military precision, but also your precision in controlling vehicles, which is an important part of the setting too. And kind of all of these things are charm, because a tea party can be just as dangerous as a battlefield on the social circuit, right? So all these things that we think you're going to do in a game, those are the abilities. And then to distinguish between them even further, another callback to the original system was they had skill cascades, where you might have a main skill like riding, but it would cascade out to different animals, because just because you know how to ride a horse does not necessarily mean you're going to be very good at riding a skrill, like a flying creature from Mars. So, and we do the same thing, where we've got a base ability like combat, like science, right? However, not all fighters are trained the same way. Like a human, that went to an Earth military would learn firearms, but a Martian might be more focused on blades and things like that. So firearms would become a cascade. So Martian can use a gun, no problem. So can a Venusian, a Skrillin. But they might need to learn that cascade, or they're going to not be as good as someone that's trained with that weapon. And likewise, all scientists are not created equally. So it's not just, I know science, ... all of them. It's like, no, there's biology, there's chemistry, there's mechanisms, and different kind of inventors are going to specialize in different ones or learn different ones. And that's where you get the genius inventors are the ones that have multiple cascades and can combine them to create, incredible new devices. The other die that we use is the D20. which is used for the danger die. Anytime you're going to take damage or roll for random encounters, you'll roll that d20. And so the idea is if you see a d20, something bad could happen. And that, that's supposed to be kind of triggering, like, oh man, the d20 came out. It's a problem. The rest of the time, giant piles of d6s, and those are going to be good.